Is Red Purple Luffy good into Gecko Moria? Well, let's find out together here as we're playing in the OP07.5 meta right now that basically sits in that sweet spot of a week where I've got at least 2 locals to play in, and Stage is banned, Red Purple Law is banned, but OP08 is not just out yet here. So we're rocking some Red Purple Luffy. It lost its worst matchup, but now we're going to be playing against another kind of hard matchup, which is Black and Gecko Moria. Seeing a lot more play here. We're going to start off with a double Nami here. Nami's going to find me some targets, finds me a Radical Beam first, and potentially is going to find me something else here. See a Sanji in hand as well as another Radical Beam. I think at this point I do need to lean towards a little bit more of the counter. I've already got my Zorojuro, but I think that is a little more worthwhile here. I did do a little bit of a camera magic here. I actually forgot to set my life up. We ended up, talking to a judge and getting the life figured out here. As no one took damage yet, but I was just getting swung at, and that was a 6K swing into me. Here I'm gonna think about potentially countering out of it, just because Gecko Moria can go pretty wide pretty quickly. That is one scary thing about Gecko Moria. That kind of sits in like the same realm as Law. Gecko Moria is kind of just like a neutered Law that can also kill things. And so we're going to see Hogback into grabbing the Moria there. So I know I'm going to expect a Moria later in the game. We're going to just take that hit here. And we do end up triggering a Gum Jet Gatling, which allows us to ramp 1 Dawn active. Since I'm already on the second curve, right, I will be on 8 Dawn on my 4th turn, which allows me to go up to 9 to play a Whitebeard. Speaking of the devil, that's a Whitebeard thrown in hand right there. Whitebeard, MVP of the deck. Want to go up to 8K as quick as possible, especially against these decks that go wide, and Gecko Moria is very good at going wide with a bunch of 5Ks. So here on this turn we kind of have a decision. I could get the guaranteed ramp by playing out the double finger. You can see me thumbing Zorojuro here. I was kind of debating between both, either Zorojuro or the double finger here. Double finger is the guaranteed ramp at the cost of discarding a card, whereas Zorojuro is like has potential, right, to ramp additional times, but that's assuming my opponent doesn't just instantly kill it, which I am very sure at this point that Zorojuro is going to meet an ill fate as soon as I play it out here, because I know Gecko Moria cannot afford for me to be able to ramp at all. Now I'm pretty much a full turn ahead. I'm at 6 Dawn here, pitching that Diable Jambe and swinging 7K at lead. 7K is the number. That is the best number to swing against Gecko. 6Ks and 7Ks, just because Gecko will very easily give you 1Ks, because there are a ton of 1Ks that they could give that they can reanimate, like Dr. Hogback and Absalom. Right, getting them to commit a 2K is a little more stress on their hand, but also getting them to use a 2K and a 1K is even more of a problem here. When we do see the Absalom come into the yard here, so I knew potentially, Zorojuro would have been gone. Go ahead and pitch that Zorojuro from hand here for the Perona effect, and then still a 6K coming at lead here. My hand is feeling very low countered at this point, and so I'm debating whether I just want to take it or potentially use my 2K from hand. I think the correct line is just to take it here. That 2K could become more useful. That Gum Gatling is going to discard all the useful cards on my hand. We end up picking up a Gear 5 Luffy. This is the plan of the deck, though. Here comes a nice little card here. It's going to make me trash a card from hand at random. He ends up getting the Gum Jet Gatling. But I was about to say the plan is we go with Gear 5 Luffy eventually, right? Gear 5 Luffy to seal the game. So Gear 5 Luffy is very unexpected. A lot of people still don't realize what that card does, or because that card hasn't seen play in multiple sets, that people just forget that it's there, right? So Gear 5 Luffy, I call it the game stealer. So we're going to try to steal the game here. Going to that turn here, we're going to go ahead and go up on Dawn here. We're basically a whole turn early, right? So Newgate's coming down a whole full turn early because I did ramp twice. We're going to go up to an 8K leader. I'm going to flip that leader over into my to my custom art here. I like to do that when I hit 1 life, as Luffy's getting a little more angry, a little more frustrated here as he's getting beat. His endurance is pumping up, though. We're going to swing that 8K in the lead. He's going to go and just take it. Gecko down to 3 life. Makes me pretty happy, right? So I know that if that Newgate survives, that Newgate's just going to be another life lost from Gecko. Newgate is really good, especially into decks that rely on Rebecca, right? Because Rebecca's 0 cost. So I just attach 2 Dawn to Newgate, swing in, boom, pop the Rebecca immediately, and then there's a 12K to lead. So Newgate very, very strong. In this deck especially, I don't foresee myself ever cutting this card from the deck. It's really great at setting just like he does in his own deck, setting a leader up to 8k. It's very, very strong. So I'm at 8k this turn. I just know that my opponent's likely not going to attack me at all. Potentially, as he just doesn't have enough resources here. He's going to go ahead and Ice Age. He's going to Hina and Ice Age my Newgate, setting it down to 0. We do see the Absalom in yard. Opponent just immediately preparing that here. He's going to go ahead and pitch a card from hand. There is an Absalom already in the yard. So I did the writing's on the wall. Newgate's out of here. Rest in peace, Newgate. So that's pretty unfortunate. So I did see I saw at least one Ice Age get milled. And so I was like, I kind of was like hoping that he didn't have another Ice Age in hand, but he ended up having it there. So we did lose the Newgate. Newgate did, though, completely stun my opponent for a whole turn cycle. All those 5Ks couldn't swing in. I'm very happy about that. Now we're gonna go up to 10 Dawn here. We have not a lot of great plays at this moment. At this point, we've got the 10-drop Luffy, which this is not the turn to play the 10-drop Luffy. You typically want to play the 10-drop Luffy when you're trying to go for game, because he does give you that extra turn as well as the 3 additional swings if you haven't attacked with your leader yet, because when he comes down, he's going to let you go up to 7k on your leader, because you'll have 2 Dawn, and then go to the next turn, go up to 5 Dawn max, but 4 Dawn active, and then you can swing 10k, 12k. So he pretty much guarantees at least two more big swings when you play him out. But I need Gecko to be at a lower life total before I go for that here. So I'm a little bit of a pickle. I could just play out the Sanji full price, play out like the Bond Clay, in case they like play that Gecko from hand, then I have something to copy, but it's likely that Bond Clay is just going to die. So I know potentially I could just like play something from hand, right? But there's this weird trade of you want to play things from hand when you don't have a big threat to play, just so you don't like waste your turn. But also, that's 1Ks that you're losing from hand, right? So you're a 6k leader. They're likely going to meet that minimum threshold to hit you, right? So having a 1k is very good. So I'm thinking of potentially just keeping those cards in hand. I'm going to go ahead and swing 6. He does end up countering out of that. I think we're just going to use 1 Dawn here to swing, and then we've got enough Dawn open to play out the Sanji and then hold up the Radical Beam to try to survive in case he tries to go for some kind of lethal situation here, as he does have a pretty wide board, and I think he's up to 9 Dawn here. So Gecko Moria is at 2 life. I was able to sneak an extra life off. That's potentially allowing me to set myself up for a Gear 5 Luffy next turn if he attempts to go for game and doesn't like build a board, play any blockers. I don't think he has a lot of great targets for Moria here, so Moria is probably not worth playing at this point. I am kind of afraid of like an Ice Age here, but he's gonna go ahead and swing 5 into my 4, so double fingers out of here. I will not be protecting that card at all because I need to stay alive at this point, right? I've got 2 1Ks and a Radical Beam. Those 2 1Ks will take me up to 7 for each swing. So if my opponent just swings 7, then I'm a little sad. So like there's also this situation where I'm threatening a Radical Beam, right? In this deck you can bluff Radical Beams pretty easily, but for this specific scenario, I have one because he saw me get it, right? He saw me get it on turn 1. So just kind of wondering what he's going to do here. With 9 Dawn open, he could just swing a bunch of times. He does end up having the Ice Age, which really sucks here. And I made a comment after the game like, damn, you had, you saw 3 Ice Ages, 1 in your yard and 2 in hand. That like he was running hot, right? Gecko Moria is running incredibly hot right now. Being able to kill my Newgate the turn before, being able to kill my Sanji here, and swing in 6k lead. That's where I have to use that 1k. We're gonna get that 1k out of hand, and then he's still got some Dawn open here. Just gonna swing another 6k with the other Absalom. This is just gonna beat another Bond Clay. And then he's got 2 more potential swings here. I know for a fact at this point that I am going to be able to survive this turn, because the most he can do is just attach like 2 to each, right? So we could go 7k, 7k, right? So if he goes 7k, I'm just going to take it. It's going to give me a Fronosuke. He's going to go ahead and go 7k again, and that Fronosuke is going to come really, really in clutch because it's a 2k. And then now just go to me. So when you're doing Gear 5 Luffy, you cannot use any of your Dawn. And so this situation here, I'm like, okay, we drew a dragon. Dragon's not going to help me win the game. My opponent has 2 life. He has, I think, 3 cards in hand. And I know one of them is a Gecko Moria. So I know one of them's dead. So I'm like, okay, maximum he could have 2 2Ks. If he does, like, we're likely going to lose the game here, but we have to just go for it. Because I've got to get 3 hits out of this, right? So we're going to get a 7k, and then we're going to get a 10k and a 12k. So we're just going to go for the 7. And opponent just snap takes that. So I was just like, okay, all right. Are we going to get in that situation where Gecko just bricks, right? So we're going to go ahead and activate Luffy effect. We're going to take myself up to 4 down on my extra turn. We're going to swing 10k lead. He takes it, 12k lead, and he just shows me, what, 3k counter in hand. So he ended up pulling a Gecko and a 1k off of life. So he literally just didn't have it at all, which is like very unlikely for Gecko. Gecko usually has all of it. So that ended up being like a very like intense game at the end. And that's where Gear 5 Luffy just completely sneaks it out. Even if a Gecko is running completely hot, you can still sneak it out. That's just how strong Gear 5 Luffy is. And with that, thanks for watching, everybody.